Okay, so I think we can start, and some of you are coming more and more. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's session, our new webinar. And the topic today will be the balancing the demands of work and life and family life in endocrinology. This webinar is organized by the European Women in Endocrinology. We are a community and part of the European Society of Endocrinology in order to support women in endocrinology throughout Europe. I'm an endocrinologist. My name is Anastasia Athanasoulia Kaspar. I work in Germany, in Munich, and together with my colleagues, Trine Fins from Norway, hello Trine, and Eugenia Vlaho from Greece, hello Eugenia, and also Daniela Esposito from Sweden. We will be delighted to guide you through today's webinar. Actually, we work in the field of endocrinology, and we know that endocrinology, as its heart, is the science of a balance. We speak to our patients of a hormonal balance and how the smallest shifts can transform the entire body homeostasis. And these shifts can have profound effects. And we spend our days helping our patients to find their balance. But the greatest challenge is often to find our own balance in our professional and personal lives. And this can be just as complex as essential. So today we are fortunate to have three exceptional speakers with us. It's bringing not only remarkable professional achievements, but also personal reflection on how to sustain purpose, family, and well-being in these demanding careers. Over the next 60 minutes, we will explore their experiences, we will set them questions, we will explore their insights, and we will get to know their practical wisdom on how to nurture both our professional excellence but our personal fulfillment. Please mention that this session is being recorded and will be available on the European Society of Endocrinology website in the next 3 weeks. And of course, we would love to hear from you, from our audience. So please feel free to post your questions for the speakers in the chat. You will find the chat throughout the session. My colleague Trine will be keeping an eye, please, Trine, on them, and will share your questions with our speakers during the discussion. Okay, so I will start with our first speaker, which is Professor Barbara Altieri, which is an associate professor in endocrinology at the University of Parma, Italy, but has been a long time in Germany, in Würzburg, and maintains still this active collaboration with Würzburg and with Germany, with the University Hospital. She leads the adrenocortical carcinoma working group within the European Network for the Study of Adrenal Tumors and has been recognized with the European Journal of Endocrinology Rising Star Awards and the European Society of Endocrinology Young Investigator Awards. Professor Altieri is not only leader in translational adrenal research, but also a strong mentor for early career endocrinologists, of course, across Italy, Germany, and Europe. Hello, welcome, Professor Altieri. The second speaker is Professor Chan, which is a professor of molecular endocrinology and metabolism in the Queen Mary University of London and a honorary consultant in the pediatric endocrinology at Earth's Health. Her leadership spans cutting-edge research, clinical innovation, and mentorship in pediatric endocrinology, and she has been a strong advocate for diversity, inclusion, and the development of women in academic medicine. Hello, Professor Chan. And our third speaker is Professor Cecilia Folin, which joins us from the Lund University in Sweden. And she serves there as an associate professor in endocrinology and a senior lecturer in the Department of Health Science. She's also an award-winning researcher and leader in survivorship care after childhood cancer, and the editor of the first textbook in advanced practice of endocrinology nursing. So these excellent speakers, you can, let's say, comment, you can say some words on yourself or your CV, and I think we can start with the first question, or let's say defining how is your own family, what is family for you? And I would like to start with Professor Altieri with the first question, what is for you, let's say, Professor Altieri, this balance between work and family?
Yeah, so this is an important question. Thank you. I have to say that I don't have child. My family is me and my husband, and for sure then we have parents and other families, more larger family. But it was not every time easy because living abroad, so we are both from Italy, and living abroad alone, so without our family, was not so easy every time. And I have to be honest, I found a person, so my husband, that support me every time, whatever it was difficult for me, and for the language, because at the beginning I cannot speak one word of Germany. He was living already in Germany, so we actually met there. And But he support me every time for my work. And then when I, let's say, I get the offer to come back in Italy for this position, like, he followed me. So I have to be honest, every time I found a person that support me. And I think this is important, to find a person that support your career and not say, oh, no, like, that is against your career. And I mean, we didn't think about for now to have babies, because for now we are okay like this. Maybe we're coming in the future, but I'm really confident that I will find a person that will still help me, even if I will need more time with a baby, for example. And I think this is family. So families help to each other. It's not because it should be considered a classical family with a couple and babies and children, but it's a place where you found support. And this is, I think, this is important.
Thank you. I would like to ask which relocation was easier. So you relocated twice, from Italy to Germany and then back from Germany to Italy.
Yeah.
Um, so how was this relocation twice, and to
Uh,
make a new home, to make, let's say, everything from the beginning? And which
uh,
one of two relocation was the most difficult?
it was not easy. It's not easy at all. Because you have to start everything for the beginning. So everything that you used to, you lose everything that you used to. So you have to do everything new. You have new colleagues. You have new, let's say, new rules. In Germany, I had a new language that I have to learn. So I was lucky to one side, because I found in both occasions a very welcome environment around me. So they help me, for example, in Germany, even if I cannot speak at the beginning German, uh, it was not a huge problem, so I can communicate in English. But for sure, this was the most difficult part, the language problem. And then also to define again a new way to work. But let's say, um, I want to do this experience. I really want to do. So my motivation was so high that was quite, let's say, easy for me. And when I came back in Italy, in Parma, which is not my university, so also here there was completely everything new. Uh, at the beginning, I was a bit scared, because now I was used to work in Germany. So again, Italy was the new one, new rule again, everything new. But to the other side, I can start again to be, let's say, for sure, like, I'm start again to build my group, to build my um, um, my new environment and ambulatory, let's say, for following the patients. So this is again a new challenge that it's motivating me. For sure, in both cases, when I left the first time Italy and when I left Germany, there was a sad part of me because I spent a lot of time in Italy in my university where I study, and then in Germany. So let's say, I had a lot of friends and I miss them. But this new challenge, it's motivating me.
Thank you. Thank you for these insights. And another question, because you have this relocation issue, did you find any difference in terms of support between Italy and Germany, or let's say you had the same support in both countries?
I have to be honest, I was support in both countries. So my professor in Germany, he supported me every time, and he was the one that say, "Oh, you need to do now a step in your career. You cannot stay, let's say, a postdoc any longer. You have to do a step." So he moved me. To do this to do this step. And also here, then when I back in Italy, I found that not only the professor here in Parma, but also the other professor in Italy, they were happy that I was coming back. So let's say I was maybe luckily to have this supporting environment.
So thank you. Thank you for these insights.
Yeah.
And I would like to set the next question to Professor Chan, or if Professor Chan would like to add something to these questions already said.
Yeah, so listening to sort of what Barbara said, I want to congratulate her for choosing such a wonderful partner for life. So I do have two young girls, who's 12 and 9. And so in terms of family life and sort of balance, so my husband is a clinical academic as well. And what I found was that, of course, we support each other, but ultimately we're fighting for time from each other. And it's this sort of, like working out who's doing what every single day. Like the diary is king in terms of, planning, planning, planning all the time. But I think it is about sort of planning, and I agree with you, Barbara, in terms of like, making sure that you have support around you, well, in whatever form. So, if that support is actually hiring a cleaner to do all the housework, then so be it, So it's around, for me anyway, trying to sort of see what is essential, what's not essential. Is there anything else that I can do to sort of try and get this work-life balance? But sort of often it doesn't feel necessarily there's ever balanced. It's always a bit of a juggle in the hormonal way, as you said, Anastasia.
Thank you. And you mentioned you have the two children. I have 3 children, so I can imagine how you're feeling. But I wanted to ask, how do you handle with urgent work? If something, let's say, comes, and of course we're at home, and you get a call from the clinic or from the hospital or from your PhD students that you should help. How do
Yeah.
you deal with this issue?
So I think there's a few things. Obviously, childcare is really key in this, and sort of having some level of flexibility in that childcare and having a list of people that you know and trust that can sort of help. So that's sort of one sort of key issue. Um, but and then it's sort of prioritizing sort of what is urgent. So, if there's a clinical issue that absolutely needed me, then that is sort of top priority, right? And you can sort of work out how you can be in the hospital It may not be immediate, and there's sort of ways of managing that situation in terms of calling a colleague, or, you know, again, sort of surrounding yourself with people that can support you. I mean, there has to be sort of flexibility within both a NHS, like a healthcare system, as well as a university system to sort of deal with emergencies. But then you sort of work out how you would sort of physically get to a place if that's absolutely what you need to do. And then it's a bit of a juggling act. But in my career, so I don't do on calls within my job, and that actually is really helpful when it comes to these emergencies that you talk about. Quite a lot of my colleagues do on calls, and they absolutely need to make sure their other half, or, you know, their parents, are available for childcare during those times.
Okay, thank you. I can experience from myself about, but I want to ask you if you have feelings of guilt, let's say, if any, if you spend, let's say, your time with your in work, or if you give some time to your work where you're at home, or how do you cope with this problem, with this guilt feelings, let's say, as a mother of two?
Yeah, I always feel guilty all the time, but I think that you need to, you know, so whether it's a difficult one, because on the one hand, you know, maybe you feel guilty about sort of, you know, not spending too many enough time with children, or, you know, elderly parents, or sort of not spend, you know, achieving enough in terms of work. So the guilt sort of moves around in all areas, in all forms. But then you realize you don't actually have time to feel guilty most of the time, because you just have to get through the day and all these things done. So yes, I do feel guilty, but then I sort of, you know, the other part of my brain switches on, which is I just need to get this done. You know, I need to get this job done. Um, and when there's time, then you sort of, you know, look back and see whether anything could be different. So you do reflect on sort of whether, sort of moving forwards, you're working out a strategy, or allocating time in a specific way. Again, sort of putting things in the diary in order to ensure that there are sort of periods of time that you ensure that you're around for the family, things like that, I think helps me.
So it looks like the perfect. There's no perfect balance in one day. It's probably more than a long-term equilibrium that you try to have another long-term, let's say. So there may be bad days and good days, but it looks like you try to reflect and probably correct the mistakes of the past day, and so we go through the life.
But also, I think it's about sort of setting boundaries in terms of what is okay and what's not okay. So, you know, so my children go to school, we take them to school, and they go to after school clubs. So that means that they have a relatively long day at school. So they start at 8:30 and they finish at 5:30, something like that. And so sometimes they say to me, "Oh, all my friends leave school at 3:30. Can you pick me up early?" And in general, my response is no, because we work. But it's that kind of making a judge, but, you know, I mean, we do pick them up early sometimes, but it's generally sort of, you know, making a policy to sort of understand what's acceptable and not acceptable, to my mind.
Okay,
And make
I lost that sentence, but I think so, because of a technical issue. So you mentioned that your children go to school, and then I lost the sentence. Sorry.
Oh, so I was just saying that you just have to sort of accept certain things. So they go to school, they go to after school club, and they spend many hours in school, but they understand why they do that.
Yes.
Unlike sort of, you know, other families, their friends. Oops.
So, Anastasia, is your freezing? I think Anastasia is freezing.
It looks like I have some technical
Yeah.
issues.
And then we head on
Yes,
to
yes, I have
Eugenia.
some technical issues.
Yeah, we
Yes,
head on to
thank
Eugenia. I
you.
think she has some questions for Professor Folin. So we just give the word to Eugenia to continue.
Yes, Professor Folin, can you tell us about your work? How did you find your family life regarding your professional schedule? Have you found some difficulties during your professional life? Can you tell us about your own life, please?
Yeah, so I've so I had to give
okay.
I had to give a
Did you
talk.
ask me or?
Oh, sorry, Sissy.
Oh, who did you ask me, Eugenia?
Yes, sorry,
Okay.
I did miss something?
No, because we started
Okay.
both of you. Yeah, so when I started my PhD studies, I had very young children. So I had just came back from parental leave, and it was really I really struggled with it, and as I couldn't work full days with very small children, and I always had a feeling of I needed to be very efficient. Of course, I had a husband, and we have very generous system in Sweden with parental leave. We had childcare and everything, but nevertheless, you don't want your children to stay there until late evening when they're very young. But I think I really developed a way to be very efficient and also be very flexible to work in the evenings when I had to leave the job early. And like I told you, I had a phrase I need to that I give to my PhD studies students now, that it's compassion over guilt, and I mean that's okay to not do it all because you have other duties in life that's very important now, and it's really need attention. But I think it's really a feeling of that, not having the feeling of guilt, because you need to reflect and look back what you actually have done, and that's good enough when you have all these at the same time in life. So now my boys are adults, so I have a lot more time, so I really can look back and see how busy it was back in the days when they were very young.
Thank you. But I would like to ask you more about this phrase. I loved your phrase, compassion over guilt. Could you tell us a bit more about what that means to you and how it helped you?
Yeah, it's like we have been talking. I think Lee talked about that stop the feelings of guilt, because they are always in the back, and I had this for the first years of PhD studies. I always had a feeling of guilt as I have a supervisor, and she always wanted that when we had the results finalized, she always wanted it to be published very quickly, of course. And at that time, perhaps your children were sick or something. So I think I keep saying to myself that it's really okay to not do it all, to ask for support. You can ask for support, for example, for my parents looking after the children, or for my very close colleagues, to build up a support system, that we are a team working here. It's not only me. Now I have hard finding the time, but if you can help me now, I will help you later. So we keep the team moving forward. So that's what's I mean with this.
Fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Folin. I had some difficulties with Wi-Fi here. Apologize for this. I wanted to ask Professor Folin another question. You work in Sweden and you have experience in Sweden, the Scandinavian countries, and the other European countries. Probably you have many collaborations. are there any differences between the support you get in Sweden and the support you get in other European countries? I mean, Eugenia, you work in Greece still, so I think there are some differences regarding the kindergarten and how much support you get from the country, let's say, from the city. Yes.
Yeah, that was also an experience I had when I getting to know other people from Europe, example for the European Society for Endocrinology, where we could share our experience, that we have the childcare in Sweden. It's really, really very good, and it's very cheap. It's the same for all people in Sweden, and all can afford paying for that. So I think that's really helped me a lot. And I also realized that we are very lucky in the Nordic countries compared to some other countries. So, yeah.
Indeed, there are some differences. Probably it's a cultural issue. I mean, I know that in other countries there is a biggest support from the family, from the parents, if possible, of course, because this is also a cultural tradition, I have to say. Probably in Italy or in Greece or in the southern part of Europe, which is not the case, which is sometimes also the case in Sweden. I don't want to say that in Sweden the family is not there, but I think somehow the parents or the family in the southern part of Europe is really feeling somehow I have to take care of my grandchildren, even if I cannot. So it's something that happens in the southern part of Europe. But I think this the support that you have in Sweden, probably from the national system, is of course great, and this probably fills the gap that probably family cannot cope. I mean, it's again the guilt feelings that you have for your parents, because if your parents take care of the grandchildren, which is not an easy job, then it can be also extremely tiring and difficult. So I think it's the combination. I get support from my family, but I have the feeling that I have to give it back. So it's a vice versa condition.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments on this or any comments from the chat? Green.
We have there it came, the first Q&A from Dirk de Rich. Thank you for testimonials. These have been very much how you as an individual judge work with family and private life. But considering there will be a shortfall of 4 million physicians soon in Europe, that the medical profession is coloring more and more female, and that more and more HCPs suffer stress and burn out at early age. You would expect measures to be taken by the institutions where you work that facilitate the combination of work and family private life. Childcare is mentioned. What would you suggest that institutions do more and better to make a good balance possible in the future? P.S. I'm working on the state of endocrinology project that ESE is working on with a focus on endocrine workforce of the future. And I think that's a very good question, and also one that we had written down, Anastasia. What can the institutions do? And I think we could ask our excellent panel here, one after the other. So maybe Barbara, start again. What do you think?
So I think that we should receive more support for the institution. Also the support, for example, in Germany and in Italy, it's different. In Germany, it's a bit more than in Italy. And as Anastasia said, because in Italy and South Europe, we count on family help. But I think that this let's say mentalities should change, and we should have more flexibility from the institution, because sometimes I really like the comment that sometimes we feel guilty to do our job, and this is something wrong. Why I should be feel guilty if I'm not able to finish, let's say, all my job in one day, but I need 2 days to do it, and to have 2 hours in the evening of private life. And this is something that I think it should be changed in the mentality of the institution all over Europe. This is something that it's all over Europe. And to understand also the different, let's say, time of life of a person, because if somebody is really young, early PhD students without children, maybe she can dedicate a bit more to the work, probably, because she would have a bit more time free. If you have a family, it became sometimes a bit difficult to dedicate your full day to the work.
Any other comments?
So I guess flexibility is a word here from the
Yeah, exactly.
from our,
Yeah, exactly.
employer.
Because sometimes I cannot finish today, but tomorrow I can work twice, let's say. So a bit more flexibility.
Mhm. Lee, Professor Chan?
Yeah, so I also think flexibility is key, but I also think that sort of universities have a role, and universities and sort of like healthcare systems have a role in terms of helping with that flexibility. So, in the case of sort of childcare, it would be, there should be some childcare provisions available. And actually, lots of universities within the UK don't necessarily have that at all. And there should be sort of flexibility within the rota anyway, regardless whether you have a family or not, for sort of, changes in the rota. And actually, things are so stretched that often that's not the case either. So I think that there needs to be more funding around those major issues. And until that happens, I think that there's always going to be a stressed out, sort of, burnt out workforce. So I think the other thing is about sort of things happening within the given country. So when my second child was born, the government introduced shared parental care, so shared parental leave. So what that meant was that for the first time, my husband could take sort of my part of my maternity leave to look after my child. And actually, I think that's really important, because then the focus is not just on women taking maternity leave and being discriminated against. And so, I think certain things within governments and decisions made by governments really affect how how you change the sort of perceptions of women within sort of in a working environment. So those were some of my points.
And Cecilia, you may add something from Sweden or your point of view.
Yeah, so I agree really that the institutions need to be more flexible, or really raise the question about flexibility to work, to go home, to leave the job early one day and work more the other day, because that's really needed when you have young children. And in Sweden, we also have shared parental leave. So if you have the flexibility in the system, you can use this, and it shouldn't be the struggle of the women only. And I also think that we could raise these questions more often at the university, in the institution, by, for example, organize seminars or workshops about these questions, like you are organizing now, to really raise this question about the older people working like me now. So perhaps I forgot about how it was when I was young. So you always need to keep these questions going and not forget about it. And don't forget to ask your PhD students, how are you? How are your children? How is everything going at home? So make them know that you really care about them, and that they can tell you.
Thank you for good answers. Anastasia, I suppose you have some more questions from
Yes, thank you. I wanted to add that from my personal experience, working part-time feels like a disadvantage or a problem, that you're not able to work full-time because you have the children or the family. So I think this mentality, as you already mentioned, should change, because I have sometimes the feeling that women, or in this case, women working part-time, probably work full-time, but they don't get the full salary. So it's, I think we struggle to make probably more in our part-time job because we want to be respected like full-time, let's say, employees. And then I think, as mentioned in the question with the burnout, I think it's the main problem that not only, of course, women, but in this case, women can affect on all of these health issues that can arise from this chronic stress. I mean, we all know what about cortisol and what influence cortisol and this chronic stress can have in our lives. So I think this is the first thing, our personal, let's say, experience, and also the attitude of the colleagues or the employees and the employers, let's say, whether they take us fully into consideration as a normal, let's say, employee or not. So I think this is the problem that we have to struggle in the next years, and support, as you mentioned, with childcare facilities and kindergarten, and or, for example, support during the Congress, during the national or international congresses for the children that, for example, if you have to breastfeed, you have to take your child with you. So there are some practical issues where we need indeed support, and also we mentioned the support from the family, but support from this employees, let's say, and the employers, let's say, that the employers and the system that can support us to do our job better. I wanted to ask a practical, let's say, question, whether we know that artificial intelligence is coming more and more in our lives. Do you use any kind of support from artificial intelligence or apps, something in order to help you maintain your work-life balance? Because this could be a good tip, let's say, a good advice for the young colleagues.
Shall I start?
Yes.
I personally haven't used AI and ChatGPT, but I know sort of other women that have. So it's really good for planning holidays, and precisely sort of like give me an itinerary that is 2 hours long between this location to this location, and apparently it works beautifully. I mean, obviously you need to check things. And then I know someone else who sort of uses it almost as a sort of reassurance sort of mechanism, and she would sort of use it quite a lot. And but what I learned subsequently was that was what sort of ChatGPT in theory was initially designed for. So I found that quite interesting. But I so far I haven't used it, but I think there's probably a role for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I haven't used it either, but it was a good suggestion.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
But I think there will be many applications, apps that will come, or different apps that could indeed support us. But as you mentioned, Professor Chan, I think ChatGPT is already the first step towards this direction. Thank you. Professor Chan, you mentioned, and Professor Pauline, that you have children. How do you feel that you give this, you teach your children to go towards this healthy balance between family and later, of course, on work, and also your younger colleagues, your PhD students, and your, of course, your team, your group? I think you're a role model. You all three are, of course, role models, and I think it's also a big topic to let's say, to inspire the younger colleagues that both is possible if we want to combine it. Any comments?
Cecilia, you may start, I
Yes.
think. Cecilia, you have grown-up children now.
Yeah, you mean how I support?
Yes.
And how
Yeah.
did I learn to be a good adults balancing their own time?
My own children, yeah. So when they were older, we always talked about our jobs at home, me and my husband, together with our children, and how important it is that both the women and the man had a possibility to work and do what they want to in working life. So I think they are grown up with this, and I think sometimes they can see me as a role model, because when they compare to other friends with other parents that don't really have this opportunity to do this, both the woman and the man, and I think I try to tell them that the balance in life is a journey, and it's not a final destination, that everything is finalized already by age of 25, for example. It's a journey going on whole life, even for me now. So the main message I have to them is to look back, reflect on what you have done so far, and be proud of what you have done, and what can you improve in the next stage in life, and what can you learn from your mistakes and good things that you have done.
So I think from my side, I flip between whether I am such a good role model to my young children, where I'm not picking them up as early as many families from school, and spending far more time with them and working. But overall, I think that there's something to be learnt about sort of having a mother that is working and sort of balancing sort of hospital and academic work. And actually they take quite big pride in telling their friends about their parents' jobs and what have you. So I think overall it's a really sort of good thing to teach your children. So yeah, those were that was what I think about that.
I think this is an optimistic vision. So let's say to teach our children, our younger colleagues, that both can be combined, and that it needs a lot of effort, but it takes time, and it's at the end of the day a good thing to try to combine both conditions. And I would like to ask our audience if they have any questions. Please feel free to write them in the chat, or you can, of course, open your microphone and set the question directly to our three speakers. Barbara is at the moment missing, but I think, okay, she's here.
Can start, and I'll start asking another question to our speakers.
Yes, thank you, Daniela.
Yeah, so Professor Folin raised an important point regarding the role of the team leader, because it's the team leader is the first who should promote a healthy work-life balance. So I remember from my personal experience, I'm Italian, and I moved to Sweden for 10 years ago. And I remember this question that my boss asked me the first week: why are you leaving so late in the afternoon? You should go home and you should take care of your family. So I remember this it was very supporting from my boss. So I remember this as a very good example. So I would like to ask you if you can give some practical advice for younger researchers that are building their own research groups. How could they practically be a good team leader and promote a healthy life-work balance in their group?
Barbara, what do you think? You're young. No comments from Professor Altieri?
So sorry. I mean, since the key is to understand the people who are working with, to understand also the difficulties, what they need, and try to find, let's say, a good compromise between work and family balance. I'm every time I say to my colleagues who work with, it's not important. Let's say if we have some important deadline, this is something else. So the job has to be done for that day. But as I said every time, it's not important when you are doing your work, if you are, if you are doing early in the evening, because in the afternoon you can take care of your children. For me, it's fine. If you are doing your work or in the early morning because your children are sleeping, for me, it's fine. So for me, the most important things is to do your job. But not, oh no, I need now in that moment. This is something that I'm trying to do. And it's something that I use for myself. As I said, if we have some deadlines, for example, congresses, abstract submission, this for sure, there should be something different. But I say you can work and you have to cover your hours, let's say, but you can do whatever you want. As I say again, I'm really in favor of flexibility. I'm not controlling you. For me, the most important thing is that you are done with your job. And not, you can take 5 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, it's upon you. But the most important thing is that you are doing your job and you are doing well your job. And another things that I'm doing to support the youngest, because I'm quite young, but not so young anymore, let's say, is every time to trust in themselves. Sometimes they come to me and they say, oh, I'm afraid, I'm scared, I don't want to talk, for example, or present an abstract, present a poster. And I every time trying to support them to train themselves, to say, oh, if I manage, you can do it. We do, for example, to prepare a lot of exercise, try out before, for example, the Congress, so that they feel more confident. And I try every time also, if they make some mistakes, to say, okay, don't worry, we are human, we are people, we can do a mistake. Don't worry, we learn from our mistake. Next time, so you will do better. This is what I'm trying to do.
Thank you, Professor Altieri. Thank you. Comment from Professor Chan? Yes.
Yeah, so I think that I agree with sort of, everything that Barbara says. I think that sort of a couple of words come to mind, which is, as a sort of group leader, learning to be kind and empathetic with your sort of team. And because you don't know what's going on in everyone's life at all. So, you know, like understanding that is really important. And I gave a talk recently that I was given this title to give the talk, which is how to develop into a reflective researcher. And I didn't know what that meant. So I sort of, you know, I did use AI in that situation where I put the title in and it gave me a list of, you know, things to do to become a reflective researcher. And I think that's part of the journey of being a group leader, is that where you take stock of what you're doing and you sort of reassess what you need to manage the group that you have.
So now we have another question from Dirk. You have talked about personal measures. What institutions? He asks again, anything you, yeah, and from ESE, of course, he would like, do we see anything which could be done? What I'm thinking about while we're sitting here and these more institutional and organization administrative questions are coming up is that we have a population that should have their treatment. We have a job to do as clinicians. As you see, I'm sitting here all white today. And we should be careful that we do what is needed for the patients and not more, because we sometimes makes habit. We use guidelines that are go too far, and that's, I think, the only way we could limit what we have to do, because we have an important job. We cannot just say you don't need treatment for your diabetes or thyroid disease or whatever. So I think we have to make an efficient healthcare system to cope with these problems, because we are a limited group of people taking care of these problems. And we shouldn't be too limited. We should be enough endocrinologists, and we have counted them all, more or less. This survey from ESE was very comprehensive, and I don't know if you have answered it, all of you, but I think there may be some answers in this survey. And then I think the childcare is important. We have a lot of childcare in Norway, and they are very different. And I personally, this is personal again, but this is also system, I had very luck with my kindergarten. My son had a lot of tonsillitis and sinusitis and a lot of ear, nose, throat problems during his childhood. But the child caregivers, they were so relaxed and just called me, he has fever, but you can wait until it fits you to come. It's no hurry, just wait, be calm, it's no stress. And I know that this is not like that in every kindergarten. They don't trust themselves. They say you have to calm fever. We don't want to have the responsibility for this child, and so. But maybe the system could change there, because fever is a very normal thing in small children. So that's also a thing. And I also thinking about the families in Southern Europe taking more care of their grandchildren. And that would not have been possible in Norway, where women have been working for generations. As my children were small, my mother was working full time. She couldn't take care of my children. Yeah, so we need this institutional care as well as family. Some thoughts from me, and now I leave it to Anastasia to make some closing comments.
Thank you for the inputs. I think the first problem is to understand the problem. I mean, to see where there are the deficits and which kind of change we need in order to have a better balance between the work and family life. I think I don't see any further questions from the chat. So I would like to conclude in the next 3 minutes. So I have learned actually that a balance is not a perfection, is not a static goal. It's not something that you achieve today, but tomorrow not. It's, let's say, something that we see on the long term. And it probably means, I was thinking, what is balance? What is the right balance? How balance is enough, and which is the right balance? And I think for me, or for, I think what I've learned is that having a balance is being present there for your patients, of course, and your family, and have no symptom or no feelings of guilty, let's say, of issues that you think, I'm not enough here, I'm not enough there, because it's something that we used to do. I'm both here for my patients, I'm both here for my family, for my parents, my children, my husband, whatever, because there's a bright definition of family. There will be different days, there will be deadlines, unexpected calls, there will be difficult days, but I think that there will be joy, laughter, and also moments that remind us why we choose this path and this occupation, let's say, and also why we choose to have a family. I think when we support each other, share openly the problems, as having done up to now in the last 60 minutes, and give ourselves, not forget ourselves and our family, the same compassion that we offer our patients, I think then we create a good combination of life and occupation, and we sustain our balance. These closing words from me, I want to warmly thank you, Professor Chan, Professor Follin, and Professor Altieri, for your time and for sharing your personal stories and your personal thoughts and your authenticity. And I would like to thank our audience for joining us today. Let's try to carry forward to achieve this goal, this demanding goal of balancing work and life. I would like to remind you the next webinar will be on the 28th, as to see here, of February 2026. And I think this was from my side. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your attention here. Thank you for brainstorming with us and sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you. Bye.